Good afternoon, dear Stitchers. I am Judy Whitman with JBW Designs. I want to welcome you back. I so appreciate those who have been watching. I also welcome those to the channel who are new and who haven't watched before. I learned today, actually on Facebook, that this is the first anniversary of my Flosstube videos. So I didn't realize that. I knew I started in October. I didn't realize it was this very day. So it's kind of exciting. I never thought I would do this, but here I am. And I have lots to tell you about today. I'm very excited about some of the things I found out since the last video 2 weeks ago. I am a day late in recording this week because I've had some computer woes with my desktop computer, and it wasn't working at all for a couple of days, and somehow now here we are back in business again, which is wonderful. I just got back from Needlework Galleria last Sunday, and it was a great show. I met so many wonderful people there. People came into the booth and said, "I watched your videos," and so that was very heartwarming. I did have one kind of a funny but sweet comment. One of the gals said to me, "I really like the apartment where you live." And I kind of giggled to myself about that because the room where I work is actually above our garage. It's on the second floor of our house. It's not an apartment, it's just kind of a large room. And it's where I love to work. But I said to her, well, I do have a husband and he lives downstairs. So this is not an apartment, it's just a room where I love to work. So I thought that was kind of a cute comment. Also, at the Galleria, I met Pam and Steph, who I've met before, but we had a nice chance to chat, and they did a video this week, I think on Tuesday. And at the end of the video, they actually went into many designers' rooms and did kind of a slow motion pictures of what the displays look like. And I thought I would talk to you a little bit about what it's like to set up for a trade show. And it doesn't matter whether it's retail or wholesale, they're held in the same place. So it's actually quite a process. We take over the front room, like the living room area of an Embassy Suites, and we move furniture. And you wouldn't believe how much we do to get the room to look like a display room is really what we're hoping for. It takes probably 6 to 8 hours to set up. I traveled this time again with Dawn, who is my assistant, and she's a wonderful help. So we've learned through the years, we move couches, we move desks, we move everything because we're trying to make room to put up, I put up banners actually, if you can picture it. On one side of the room, I have 3 Velcro banners that are about 3 by 8 feet high. I'm going to show you a picture of them in my very low-tech way, but it's a wonderful way for me to display my models. So on one side of the room, I set up all the models. Then we actually, if you can picture this, have learned how to put a table on top of the couch to make another display space. So we do that. And then we also set up tables in the front of the room when you first come in to put up products and other models. I have a lot of models actually that don't lend themselves to being hung on the banners. So it's a job, but I'll show you a little bit about how it looks. And I'm sorry that I haven't learned yet to put a picture in, but you can kind of see from this that there is the banner and there are the models that are hung on it. So as I said, there are 3 different banners, and if you want to see a pan picture of all of these, I would take a look at Pam and Steph's video towards the end. And then I also set up display tables, and this is just a little view of some of the models that are on display along with products. So once we get all set up, we're ready to go. We were open early bird shopping one night and then 2 other days. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. I have some fabulous news to tell you about the antique sampler that I showed you in the last video. And I'm going to show it to you again. And I'll tell you what, some of my viewers are absolutely genealogy buffs, and it's just wonderful because I wondered at the time. I'll show you what the antique piece looks like. It was done by Monica A. Marshall. That was one clue. We could also identify down here, which is very hard to read, 1902, and the real clue was the Georgie, which I always mispronounce, which is the city that we believed that she lived in. So before I showed this model, I also talked about the fact that I had found this amazing photo, actually my framer did, that was behind the model. And we didn't know if this was a clue or not. So I'm going to tell you what my, Jen and Diane were the gals that helped me with the research. And I was trying to figure out whether it was in Maine or Cornwall, England. Well, we discovered that Monica was actually born in 1891 in Cornwall, England. And it's actually called Liscard, which if we look at a map, and I'll show you, I'll tell you a little bit about Cornwall. If you can picture England, it is the very northwest, like a little peninsula of England. And so she grew up there. I found out so many things with the help of these gals about her mother and father, about her brother, about the area where she lived. It's just fascinating. So what we learned by finding her birth date is that she stitched that sampler when she was 11 years old. Her father's name was William Nicholas Connick Marshall. And I want to keep doing research because I keep finding out fascinating little tidbits about each member of the family. And I discovered last night that William Marshall was a master of the fox hunt, very interesting, and also a master of badminton. So we have to picture him in the late 1890s doing both of these things. Her mother was Harriet Georgina Coleridge, and I actually think that name Coleridge is going to prove to be very important because I think that family actually was kind of an important family in England. Her grandmother was named, her great-grandmother was named Augusta. So the Monica A is Monica Augusta Marshall. So we know she was named after a grandmother, her middle name. She had a brother named Coleridge, who was a little older than she was, and Coleridge, excuse me, was her mother's maiden name. So I loved the fact that all of these family names were used again for the children's names. Let's see. This was kind of a cute and interesting fact. So she married, and her husband's name was Captain Valentine Gould MacArthur. And very appropriately, they were married on Valentine's Day when she was 27, and they had 2 children together. She had a son, John Connick MacArthur, again a family name, and a daughter, Nina D. MacArthur. And I have not done research on both the children, but I'm very anxious to hopefully find out more about them. So one of the things that Diane sent to me, documents that she sent, were census reports. And in those census reports, there were 2 separate ones. One was from 1910, and one was, I hope this is interesting to you, from, I believe, 1890 something. Anyhow, so they list the mother, the head of the house, the wife, the daughter, and then they actually list the servants, which I thought was quite fascinating. I don't know if that's typical or not, but she sent her birth record and another picture that I'll show you. So the first census that I found Monica had not been born quite yet. I'll have to look up her birth date again. But they had, in addition to the mother, father, the son, and then the daughter, of course, who was born that year, they had a bailiff living in the house. And I don't know what that means. And then they had 3 female servants, Jane, Martha, and Louisa. And they were 56, 31, and 23. And then in the later census, when Monica was 19 years old, they had 4 servants living in the home, and their names were Edith, Minnie, Ida, and Lily, and they ranged in age from 17 to 42. So from what I can gather, they lived in quite a nice home that her father inherited from his aunt. And the home we discovered burned down in 1938. It was replaced with another home. And I don't know, as I say, I need to do more research. I'm trying to find the photo here. Let's see here, bear with me. I don't know if this is a copy of the original home or similar, but this is the photo that we found. So that's still a question mark, still to be determined. So here's the mystery. Back to this photo that was in the back of the sampler. I still am not sure a couple things. How did the sampler get from Cornwall, England to the US? I know the dealer that I bought it from in Kalamazoo was actually from Massachusetts. So somehow it got to the east coast of the US. We don't know how. Perhaps he bought it in England. I don't know the answer to that either. The real mystery is this house. And I still am not convinced that is actually a house from Cornwall. And maybe you will all give me advice. It is clapboard. And then one of our viewers noted, and I thought this was so fascinating, that these bird feeders that I talked about last time are very, very tall, and they're martin houses. And I don't know if that is going to be significant in our search for more information. But I am becoming a sampler sleuth. I never knew I would have that role. So I have 2 other samplers actually that I am going to chart and research. I talked to you about one. One was done by a little girl by the name of Edith Isherwood, and she went to the Killenhurst boarding school, and that was in 1884 in England. And then I found another sampler, which I don't know if I've shown you yet, but I will, by Olive Raleigh. And what's interesting about that is I have a grandmother who was named Olive. And this little girl was born in 1805. I'm sorry, she was born in 1791, but she stitched her sampler at 14 in 1805. So won't that be fun to find out more things about my sampler people? I just think it's great fun and very interesting. So let's move on to something about stitching, more stitching. I decided today that since it's October, and I'm wondering how did this happen, seems like the year is flying by, that today I would feature some fall models, very appropriate. So even though I might have shown these in a video a long time ago, I thought you might enjoy even I'm not even sure people go back and watch those early videos. So why not show you some models that perhaps will inspire your finishing or your stitching. So I have a number to show you. I think I'm going to start with this one. It's fairly large, but it's an idea for designs that you're doing. I have quite a few actually that are long and narrow. So I have, gosh, ABCs and Christmas trees and the reindeer sampler. You'll have to help me. I think there's a patriotic one, there's a seaside one. But what would be fun for you to do, I'm going to hold this up, is to think about working those long, narrow samplers on banding. And the beauty of working on banding is that you don't have to do any finishing to the edges. When you buy it, they come in many colors, many kinds of edgings, many thread counts, is that then you can attach it like I did to, I'm going to pull this pattern out here, to a paper mache box. and I'll show you this. This was called the Great Pumpkin Alphabet. It actually was designed quite a while ago for a class that I taught. It is still available. I forgot to look on my website to see if it's listed on I have a shop on my website where you can buy older patterns. But if you're interested and it's not on that website, just email me. So it shows, this is kind of an unusual pattern. So I actually have a photograph, of course, of the whole piece. And then the chart, it was quite interesting because it was so challenging to print. It is actually long and narrow, just like the design. So that's the Great Pumpkin Alphabet. It might be an idea for some of your future designs. So I am surrounded, as I always am, by stuff. So things to show you and share with you. So another one that I wanted to show you, and the models that I'm pulling out here are all stitched over one. And I don't want that to be intimidating to you because I actually originally stitched them all over two. So the first one I want to show you is the French Country Crow. And I love the way my finisher did this with the little rickrack and the buttons along the side. This was stitched over two on the cover. And it was done on a 32 Belfast linen, which was latte. Let's see, and the finished size is fairly small. It's 62 by 72, so that is only like 4 by 4.5 inches over 2. This is what the over one model is on the cover. This is the over one model, and I always stitch my over one models on 28 because it's easy to see. So that's the little crow stitched. You can see what the back looks like. It's just a little corduroy. That was what the design looked like. Here we go. So here is the design that was stitched over two. And I love the finish on that also. So that's one to inspire you, or two. Another one that I have over here is the French Country Squirrel. And these designs actually have been out for quite a while, but they still appeal to many stitchers, especially if you're in the mood to stitch fall items. So French Country Squirrel, you're going to see if I'm going to hold up the booklet first. It's got a little glare there. Here's the design that was stitched over two, and here's the design stitched over one. And let's see, the over two was stitched on a 32 count linen from R&R called Creme Brulee. And I wish I had the over two model to show you because it has the little ruched ribbon, ribbon around the edges. My grandchildren will get a great kick out of my mispronunciations, which happen frequently. So this is what the model looks like over one. And as you know, with my French Country designs, I try to include as many little symbols as I can that represent that motif or theme that I'm working with. So in the squirrel, we have a crow and an acorn and a pumpkin and another owl and several squirrels and a basket. So they're so much fun to design. I actually have ideas for two more to do this next winter. So I have three more to show you here. Let's see, let's pull out. This is called French Country Black Cat. I'm having trouble speaking today. And here is the over two model. And let's see what the, so the over two model was stitched on a 32 count Belfast cream linen. And I probably just used black onyx from Gentle Arts for the fiber. And let's see, do I have the model here? I did not pull the model for that. So we're just going to have to study the booklet. I forgot to pull the model. And I also like the finishing on that. I love using interesting buttons and trims, and then the edging of that is just a black and white cording. So, all right, I did pull this one, and this is kind of unique because I remember showing this last year, and after I did the video, we looked out in the trees behind me here, and the leaves had started to fall off. This is going to sound strange, but it's true. And in the leaves was an empty spot. And to me, the empty spot looked exactly like the shape of our little French ghost. So I always said that he was out there lurking in the trees watching us. So this one, the over 2 model, let's see here. So the over 2 model was stitched in orange and finished with rickrack. And the over 1 model was stitched in black. So the over 2 model was stitched on 32 Belfast linen in latte. And let's see what our fibers were. I used pumpkin in weeks for the orange one, and I used mascara in weeks for the black one. So this is what the black model looks like. And that too gives you some ideas for finishing. Okay, I have 2 more that fall into the fall theme here. So this one is called Scaredy Cats. And actually, I have seen a number of models used with this design, changing the colors of the cats, changing the colors of the lettering, and some of them, and changing the fabric background. You know, some people have stitched it on oranges. It's just fascinating to see all the different possibilities. So in this model, the framed model, that's the over 2 model. And let's see, that was stitched actually on a number 29 linen, which is very hard to find these days. So I would translate that to a 28 for you. And it turns out over 2 to be about 9 3/4 inches wide and about 2.5 inches high. And then I also stitched it over 1. And let me grab this one here. And of course, this is stitched in black again. But as I've mentioned, I've seen the lettering in orange and all of the cats black and all kinds of ideas. So this has a real cute spiderweb fabric on the back of it. So that is that design. Let's see. So the over 1 picture is on the back. And then I have one more fall design for you. So this one is called French Country Witch. I actually had this at Galleria last weekend because I wanted to show, I taught a finishing class, and I told my students in my class I am not a finishing professional, but I do finish a lot of things, and I felt like I could help them, as I try to do with you, on just getting ideas for finishing smalls. So we had a lot of fun in class. Quite a few of my students brought designs that they had already stitched, and we weren't able to finish them in class, but we were able to discuss ideas of how to finish each one of the pieces that were brought to class. So this is the design that I showed in class, and it is French Country Witch. Let's see, and I also stitched her over to, again, my glare is coming up, and it was finished as a little pillow. So let's look at the fabric. This was stitched on a 28 count antique ivory for the over 2, and probably a 28 count cashel for the over 1. And this is what the little witch over 1 looks like. And you could finish this, of course, for the over 2 also. What I loved about this was that this had actually 3 layers to it. So you would mount your stitch design on a board with a little padding. You would mount that on a second board, also with padding. And then you need a third board for the back, because you're going to attach, of course, your back board to the front board. And then the trims were added afterwards. So I'm trying to think. This is actually a twisted cord that's been added, a dark brown around here. And then, of course, the rickrack was added along the edges. And one of the hints that I gave to my students is that sometimes rickrack, if you're trying to go around the corners of a design with rickrack, it's actually easier to cut a piece for each side of your design, because then it's going to fit evenly and you won't end up with kind of wonky corners, which happens if you try to go completely around the edges. So I hope that makes sense to you. So that's our last little fall design. So let's see what else is on my list to talk to you about today. I wanted to tell you that several other products have come in since I've seen you. And this is something that I talked about, I believe, in a previous video. I'm sure I did. So I published recently a book called French Christmas Tags 2. And I mentioned that these were mounted on a wooden backing. It's a little board that I order from a company in France called the Bee Company. And they make wonderful wood products. But it takes a while to get them. And these have been on order for quite a while. They actually came in the day that I left for Galleria, so I didn't have them with me, but I've packaged them now and I want to show them to you. This is how they're packaged. Here's the larger tag and here's the smaller tag. I'll show you what it looks like on the back. This one is actually about 4 inches high, and that works for the over 2 model. And this little tag is about 3 inches high. I don't know that they are on my website. If you're interested in ordering any, just email me, judy@jbwdesigns.com, and I can either give you a shop name who has already ordered them, or you may order them from me directly. And there are several other designs that work on those little tags. In fact, you probably have designs in your stash that would work. Little ornaments here that you've done. They're so easy to finish because all you have to do is mount them on a board and finish them with a little twisted cording around the edges. So my French Christmas Tags 1, basically, which came out a year ago, that was designed for these tags. And then another 2 designs that would work on those wooden tags are the little red sleds and the little green sleds, because they're vertical designs. They would fit well onto those little wooden tags. And then another product that I don't remember, you'll have to help me remember. You know that I designed, oh, I forgot to pull the books for these. Well, I'll show you a little tiny picture here. So Dashing Through the Snow is one of my new designs that came out, in September. And I did a finishing kit for this, for the design if it's stitched over one and made into a little pillow like this. I don't carry a lot of these, it's fairly limited, but once again, just write to me if that's something you're interested in. Some people like being able to buy the backing fabric and all the trims. And I also have a finishing kit, not a lot, but some, for the Nordic reindeer design that was worked a year ago, and that was worked on a navy blue fabric over one, and that too has all the finishing trims and directions on how to assemble the pillows. So I want you to, as usual, check out my Friends of JBW Designs Facebook page, because every day almost someone posts something that's just wonderful. And I'm trying to remember. Let me grab a drink of water here. 1 second here. There were several that were posted today, but this was from a couple of days ago. So one of my viewers, Sheila, has finished all 15 of the Sing-a-Song Christmas stockings, and they're beautifully finished. One of the things that I thought was quite unique with hers is that in some cases she added actually a little extra border, you can see on 4 of these, at the top above the design, and she probably felt that it needed more height, and I thought that was such a good idea that I wanted to pass that on to you. So if you go to the page, you could see the picture in person. I have prize winners. So last week, or last video, I announced that I was going to give away 5 prizes, and I asked you to make comments. I've even forgotten what the magic word was, but I used my random comment, what am I trying to say? Random comment generator to figure out who was winning the prizes. So I have names for you. What I'd like you to do is to email me with your address. I will try to remember to go back onto my last video and make a comment under your name that you are a prize winner. But in case you don't see this one, hopefully you'll see that one. So one of the prizes that I was giving away was the plaques for Christmas in the Round. And my first winner is Jill Malpass, Malpass. And then I actually had 2 of those to give away. My second winner for the same piece is Chris Archer, and that's Chris, and Archer, Archer. So Jill and Chris, I'm looking forward to mailing those out to you. Incidentally, I was in Hobby Lobby yesterday, and I thought this was so interesting. I found 2 Christmas pieces that I used last year, the Joy sign, which is the table sign, and also the wooden snowflake that comes in 2 different sizes. Those are back in stock again, which I found kind of remarkable because a lot of times they don't repeat a product. So if you're looking for those patterns, it works with the snowflake design, it works with the winter in the round, of course, Christmas in the round. All right, so my next prizes, I was giving away, let's see here, 2 pieces here. And this was the Fall in the Round pattern and the wooden block that I thought it would look very sweet on. And this goes to Lois Dorrell, Dorrell. And now I have, let's see, 2 more things to go out here. So the Christmas Smalls was won by O.G. Stitchery. So it's O.H.G. Stitchery. That's her name that she uses. And I'll be sending this out to you. And then my last one is the Dashing Through the Snow pattern. And this is going to Cindy Catvin, Katvin. So please contact me. I'm excited to give away some products, and I have more giveaways to celebrate my first anniversary. So let me tell you a little bit about those, and where did I put them is the next question. So one of the things that I did at Needlework Galleria is that we do something called a round robin, and it's kind of a fun event. You design a kit, and it can be anything, a Christmas ornament or something else. Most often they're Christmas ornaments. And we have a class of 50 students, up to 50 students. And there are 4 or 5 designers that speak within a 1-hour time slot, which seems kind of funny. We really only have about 10 minutes to talk to the class. And what we're doing is we're describing our design that's in our kit. We're doing a little description on the finishing, and then basically we give them the kit and they hopefully walk out being happy campers with what they have. So the design that I did for the round robin this year, I called the Christmas Love Ornament. And if I write myself a note to remember, I will pull it out next week to show it to you. I don't know if it'll be published eventually or not. Probably so in some format. But I want to show you what the models look like, because the 1/2 was actually an ornament about this high. And then I also did one, a model over 1 that was a little scissors fob, and that turned out really sweet. My mouth is, and speaking, is very tangled today. So what the students got in their kit were the directions for the chart for how to stitch it. They received the comic board for mounting it, the fabric to stitch it, the backing fabric, the floss for the cording, the felt for the padding, and then the ribbon and the pin for finishing. So I made extra kits, and I have 5 left over. So I would like to give away 5 kits this week. Whoops, I'm tearing everything apart here. So this is what the kits look like. So why don't you make a comment this week and tell me something about your fall plans. I don't know about you, but I have lots of yard work to do because the yard has been sadly neglected for a few weeks, so that's on my list for tomorrow. I went to the garden center this morning with our daughter and bought some pretty fall plants. So that is going to be almost the end of my video here. So I would like you to, let's look at my notes, to comment if you don't want to add to our discussion today. I'd love you to subscribe. I have this goal to reach 2,000 subscribers. I'm not there yet. I'm about 500 away, but please subscribe if you're interested. And I will continue, hopefully, to entertain you and also to inspire you with your projects. And I know you will do the same for me because I love reading your comments. My next video might be delayed a bit. I'm not sure. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I had this spot on my face, and it turned out to be cancerous, which is not that uncommon. And so I have to have it removed August 11th. No, not August, October 11th. We're past August. And I have no idea what this bandage is going to look like, but you probably don't care if I talk to you with a bandage on my face. So we'll see. I'll do it as fast and as soon as I can. So thank you again for watching. Be kind to one another. We never know what another heartache someone is carrying that we meet. And I think that's so true in today's world. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.